Humans' origin is in Africa. There is no dispute about that at all. You know, they'll say, well, what are you? That's a comment. Well, I'm Italian. Well, where are you born? America. Where are your parents born? Brooklyn. Where are their parents born? Italy. Right. So I'm Italian. Right. And they stop there. And if you keep going, we're all African. There is an ancestor of yours that is African. If you go far enough back on the tree, when you stopped in Sweden, and you stopped in Italy, and you stopped in Poland, keep going back.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle, pay the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Club Shay Shay. I am your host, Shannon Sharp. I'm also the proprietor of Club Shay Shay. We would first like to thank Double Barrel and the Whiskey Shop for having us today's episode of Club Shay Shay. If you're in Beverly Hills, come by for a drink in this elegant lounge. Now, on to today's episode. Stopping by for conversation with a drink today, he's a protege. He's one of the most brilliant and respected and influential minds of this generation. He's a renowned science communicator, famous for popularizing astronomy and astrophysics, bridging the gap between complex scientific concepts and the general public. He has a BA in physics from Harvard, a PhD in astrophysics from Columbia, and he also taught at Princeton. A highly intelligent educator, an accomplished director, and an Emmy-winning executive producer, an acclaimed television host, a popular narrator, a sought-after public speaker, an influential entertainer, and a prolific writer. His book just debuted, number 3 on the New York Times best-selling list. He's awarded the NASA Distinguished Public Service Medal, a science icon, Neal, Degrassi, Tyson.
I gotta live up to all of that.
You already have. I would hate to come back here in 5, 6 years and have to read this again. Just keep going.
All right. Well, thank you for that very warm introduction.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And now we just got the news before we started taping that your new book, Take Me to Your Leader, just debuted at number 3 on the New York Times bestseller.
I learned that 5 minutes ago.
5 minutes ago.
Just that.
We learned it together. So you know what?
There you go.
We're gonna talk. This is my cognac, Shea by Laportier.
You got it.
The BSO.
It's your cognac.
It's actually my cognac.
Okay.
We're gonna send you away with some.
You gotta go. I can do that.
Thank you so much.
All right. VSO, very special old.
Very special old pale.
Ale, VSOP.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. It drinks like the next soda.
Okay.
Thank you for stopping by.
All right.
It is such an honor to have someone as brilliant as you are to help us, to help explain maybe the unexplainable.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're a scientist and you operate on the frontier,
Okay.
half of what you're looking at doesn't have an explanation yet.
Wow.
That's the whole point. If you're the research science community, you have 1 foot in what is known,
Right.
ideally, and then 1 foot in what you don't want to put both of them down.
Right. You don't want both feet to be up.
Because then you just float away.
Okay.
So 1 foot in what is known, then anchors your understanding.
Okay.
And then you tiptoe out there and see what's new to be discovered. So when news headlines say, well, scientists have to go back to the drawing board on this, we're always at the drawing board. Okay. It's a misconception that we're sitting with our legs up, basking in the mastery of the universe. No. Yeah.
So when someone says some things are best left unexplained, when you hear that, what do you say?
Said no scientist ever. In fact, if we see something that has no explanation,
Right.
we're drawn to it.
Right.
It's a magnet.
You trying to figure out why.
that's so. There's a famous line.
Okay.
The German poet Rainer Maria Rilke wrote a book called Letters to a Young Poet.
Okay.
And I'm going to mangle it a little bit, but I'll get it mostly right. It says, "Be at peace with all that stirs in your heart. Learn to love the questions themselves." And you can love the questions, but that means if you're a scientist, you want to figure it out, and then another question pops up. Right? So you love the sequence of questions that are the product of research that give you a new place to stand and new vistas to see beyond the walls that used to be there.
Take me to your leader. Tell us about this book. There's aliens, and I want to talk to you about that because for the longest time we have this of what has been drawn or what has been presented to us of what an alien is and what it looks like.
Right.
And so you're here to explain, offer us a better explanation of what actually aliens are, if they exist, and are we going to meet them or have we already met them?
I'm not authorized to comment. No. So I tried to stay out of it, for the longest time, just because it was too messy, And what I mean by the longest time, over the decades, you heard these reports, flying saucers, abductions.
Yes.
And it was the farmer in the back 40 reporting this. It was the revelers after the bar let out. There was plausible deniability of the sanity of who was giving the report. Now, UFO enthusiasts were eager to gather as much of this information as they could. And even UFO enthusiasts recognize that most sightings of UFOs have a natural explanation. And I'm looking up at the sky all the time since I was 9 years old. All right. So I know about the sun, moon, stars, planets, and I also know about weather patterns because weather interferes with my sky. So I'm going to know whether weather's coming and going, what it looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like, and I've never seen anything I couldn't explain. Even though a few things I could only explain given the extensive knowledge that I have. Which tells me that for most people without that extensive knowledge, that would get reported to the police. And so only in the last maybe 8 years or so, let me put the marker where the New York Times reported on that fuzzy Tic Tac that the naval officer, the Navy pilots found. And you hear them commenting, "Oh my gosh, what is that? We're tracking it." And you feel their excitement. And there's a little bit of, I don't want to call it fear, but they don't know. They're in a state of unknown. So from then onward, more sort of official sounding people have come forward. In the last 3 years, we have whistleblowers, insiders, ex-military, ex-intelligence agencies, and they're reporting in Congress sworn testimony that they got crashed alien bodies in the back shed, that they've got crashed saucer hardware in the back, that they've got reverse engineered science and technology from the alien. They're testifying to this. And so I said, all right, it's time for me to step in. I wanted to do a couple of things. I wanted to celebrate this fascination we have with aliens in all of our movies. I mean, do you realize that half of the top 10 grossing movies of all time involve non-Earth-based creatures? Like at the top of the list is, of course, E.T.'s. I don't know if it's the top 10, but that's another example. Avatar, these are aliens. And so we love us some aliens as this culture. So I wanted to give a serious analysis of the powers and the technologies that these aliens that have come out of our imagination. And then ask, if actual aliens came to Earth, could they have these abilities and these technologies, and how smart would they be? You can give a serious analysis of that. So now, what do you conclude? Well, we're still in a situation where you have to ask the person, do you believe in aliens? Well, let me ask you this. Do you believe in elephants? Your answer would be That's not even the right question. They just exist.
Yes.
And because you've seen them.
I've seen them.
In person.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. But think of how that would go in testimony. There's only a couple of dozen people who've ever seen an elephant, and you gotta believe it. They got this big rubbery thing that's flexible.
Right.
You can pick stuff up. It smells. It eats.
Right.
Your 2 teeth sticking out.
Right.
That shiny and it's got sheep-sized ears.
Right.
And it's got legs the size of tree trunks. And can you draw one? And then, of course, the drawing is always crappy, right? And they say, "What is this thing?" You gotta believe me.
Right.
You can make a 2-hour documentary of testimonies about that.
Right.
If only a few dozen people have done it, even if 50 people have done it. But the documentary is 10 minutes long.
Right.
If they just bring out the elephant.
Correct.
5 minutes to bring out the elephant and 5 minutes for the rolling credits.
Right.
And nowhere after that does anyone have to say, "You believe in elephants."
Right.
And the elephant is not the only creature for which you could have this crazy conversation. You gotta believe me, there's this creature in the sea.
woolly mammoth, the saber-toothed
Hey,
tiger.
do better than that. Those are just mammals.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's do better than that. There's this creature in the sea. It has 8 legs. And each leg has suction cups on it. And it's squishy. And it's really smart. And it can open jars.
Yes.
And it can open doorknobs. And one variety of them has a camouflage.
Yeah.
And they could disappear into that. You gotta believe me. No, I need another witness. And another witness give a slightly different account. I need you to draw it. And they draw it as this weird thing. And it's an octopus.
So in other
Just
words,
bring out the octopus.
the Loch Ness Monster would be considered an alien. Because a few people have seen it, they seem to have photographs, they seem
Fuzzy photograph.
fuzzy photographs. So normally, if we really wanted to know that bad, is there any possible way we could drain?
Not to drain it, to drag the lake.
Okay.
Okay. Loch Ness.
Yes.
Because it's Nessie is the name of the creature.
Okay.
Yeah. We drag the lake for bodies.
Yes. All the time.
Okay. Okay. If you think people would dump bodies into your river.
Right.
So you could do this. So we do it with sonar, this kind of thing. That's a different field called cryptozoology.
Okay.
These are people who are not looking for aliens. They're looking for species of life on Earth that has eluded the search of biologists.
Oh.
So no Bigfoot would be.
Yes.
Okay. And there's if you type Bigfoot, videos of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
There's this one famous video where there's like ape-like creature. He like turns and looks to the side.
Did I give you a good photo?
Yeah, you want me to smile? What did I do? But that film is 60 years old.
Right.
And I think it was done in the 1960s.
Right.
And it's okay. Anybody else have it?
Right.
And back then, who had cameras? Journalists and tourists.
Correct.
You didn't walk around with a camera.
No.
And we're old enough to remember there was a day you were only photographed once per year.
Yes.
And what was that?
Advanced medical training.
The school photo.
Yeah, school photos. You got the school photos.
And maybe your birthday.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
That's it. Everybody's got a camera today.
Yes.
So to have less evidence for Bigfoot when we have more cameras,
Right.
that's just a little suspicious.
Well, maybe they don't like the paparazzi.
Okay, so we can go down that road. I would say, bring it. Okay, so somewhere I think you'd find Bigfoot poop. Why wouldn't you? Yeah. Okay, now you'd have to say, oh, they clean up afterwards. Okay, wait. So where's Lady Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Because it looks awfully mammalian to me.
Yes.
Somebody's having sex somewhere in the woods. You'd be hearing that.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's easier to see that a microbe would go undiscovered.
Right.
Or some smaller creature in some backwoods that
Right.
no one had been before. And we are discovering species annually. In fact, one was, you kindly mentioned I have an asteroid named after me. I also have a species of animal named after me. It's a species of leaping frog that's found only in India. Only recently, like last 15 years, was described sufficiently enough to declare it a species. The researchers were very kind and respectful of my my academic and educational career.
Right.
They've seen cosmos. and because I hosted Cosmos.
Right.
And so, anyhow, point is, if people only have fuzzy photos,
Right.
and it's their testimony,
Right.
you're stuck saying, do you believe in it?
Right. The NBA Finals are here, but the action doesn't stop with the confetti falls in the NBA crowns and champions. Our stars of sports and summer sports. It's basketball, baseball, heating up. We've got the world's largest soccer tournament on American soil, and the first ever MMA fight on the White House lawn. Make your pick for all these events and more this summer on Prize Picks, America's #1 sports betting app. These playoffs have been electric. Victor Wembanyama has been out of his damn mind. More. Legacies are on the line in the 2026 NBA Finals. Get action on the biggest NBA game of the season. And reason everything. Points, rebound, no, 3 points, fantasy score. We won the NBA championship round. Prize Picks. Download the app today. You can go Shannon. You can download the lineup. We can play your first $5 lineup. That's code Shannon. You can $50 lineup. We can play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. What they call you, let's get on season. That's the season. Nobody knows about this. But these aliens that we've been telling you about, we have 2 bodies.
Okay.
And we want you to examine it. And we want you to give us your best guess, your academic pilot.
Okay.
What is this that we see?
Okay, so you know what I say? I would say, I'd love to see the bodies, but get a biochemist. I'm an astrophysicist. Okay? I'd have to look at their spacecraft, right? If you've got that. But if there's a flesh, if there's an organism,
They Uber down.
Uber flying saucer. Yeah, that's a hell of a business right there. I want the early shares in that one. Here's the thing. How many other people know this secret? I would ask that question, right? And give me any number. Okay? And what people have been claiming, it would be a big government cover-up.
Yeah.
Like hundreds, if not thousands.
Yes.
You know what Ben Franklin said? In his almanac, 1785, I think. 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. And so he's referring implicitly to juicy secrets.
Yes.
Like aliens.
Yes.
If it's some stupid secret no one cares about,
Right.
then who cares? But aliens? In Area 51, I'm thinking if the janitor just has to take a picture of the alien and stream it out, he'll lose his job that morning, that next day.
Yes.
It'll be the richest, most famous janitor there ever was.
So where did these illusions come from? How did Hollywood come up with an illusion? Because if you think about it, they kind of all look the same. None of them ever have hair. They're all bald.
Why are they bald? Answer me. You answer. Why? I want one coming out just combing his hair or Afro pick. You know, give me.
They don't smoke. You know.
Give me some body hair.
Yes.
Because all mammals have body hair and they're humanoid.
Right.
You know.
So who, to the best of your recollection, who was the first person to come up with this theory that, and it's you know, a lot of people, and I think I've heard you say it, that we're not alone, that there are others
In the universe.
In the universe.
No one's denying that. That's correct.
Well, damn, how do we know that? We've never seen it.
No, so that's true. But you've never really seen air either.
No.
But you're breathing it.
Yeah.
And its existence is not doubted by you.
Okay.
Okay? The other things you don't, like, if there's drugs in a wrapped package, you don't smell it, but your dog does.
Yeah.
So your senses are not the measure of reality.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay.
There's stuff that exists, with or without.
So the tree falling in the forest and nowhere there to hear, we know it makes a sound.
Okay, I first asked, how do you know it fell?
Because I told you it did.
No, because you went out there and saw it.
Well, I know it down.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Can we deduce that?
I'm saying it would make, if I had a chart recorder out there, I don't need your ears.
Yeah.
It would record the sound. Yes. Yes. So seeing can be believing, but seeing can also be deceiving, and that's why we invented science. The methods and tools of science have machines that make measurements,
Right.
and that's what they do. And why they do it, so that it doesn't pass through your sensory understanding of the world.
Okay.
Okay? And like I said, before we had cameras, it all passed through your
Right.
senses. I was abducted, and either they told you that, or it came out under hypnosis,
Right.
but your brain is participating in that story. We don't want that in science.
So in other words, under duress, Yes, and we've seen
especially under duress.
because there are scientists that say that sometimes under duress you can see things that you don't actually see or hear things you don't actually hear.
They're visual and acoustic illusions. That's correct. And it also depends on your expectations, what your culture is, what your, all of this factors in. I got one for you. Jesus on a tortilla. Okay? You don't never see Jesus on a tortilla? Or Jewish people? Okay? I'm just saying, right? Okay? There's cultural expectations placed on your world,
Right.
that can influence your data taking. And I just want to say that while that can explain most, possibly all, but certainly most of the sightings, I'm happy to allow that small percent that could be actual aliens.
Right.
I'm not going to say no.
You're not going to totally dismiss it.
No, I need better evidence.
Right.
And a colleague of mine was tasked, was it by Congress or by NASA, to get a group of people together to analyze the claims of alien sightings.
Right.
They didn't see anything convincing, but they do want people to get better data. So they're going to create an app where next time you see something,
Right.
you put it through the app, and the app takes the picture with your smartphone. And it records all the metadata. What is your longitude and latitude on Earth? Your elevation, your direction, your compass pointing, the lighting conditions. And then if other people saw the same phenomenon,
Right.
you can collate the data and triangulate on what the object is, how big it is, where it was going, where it was coming from. Very hard things to determine in twilight for an object that you've never seen before.
So in other words, you believe everything can be explained. Anything that we see in today's world can be explained.
No, I didn't say that. What I'm going to say is the frontier of science
Yes.
depends, expects there always something that you can't explain. Always. Really. That is what the moving frontier of science is. That is the loving the questions themselves.
Okay.
I don't know what this is, but that's a reason to investigate it further.
Right.
Here are those few observations. We don't know what it is.
Yes.
Get this app, which I think they're still working on, if it's not available already, and get your data through this app.
Okay.
And then that can be collated with other people's data to get more information to figure out what it is.
Are humans the original alien?
It looks like we are of this earth because we share the same DNA at some level with all other life on earth, including plants.
Really?
Yes. In fact,
We are the cactus.
we and a banana share 20-25% identical genes. Humans and bananas.
What?
So if an alien comes and it doesn't have our DNA or doesn't have DNA at all,
Right.
you'd expect it to look at least as different from humans as humans and bananas look from each other.
Correct.
You'd expect that.
I
It's from
would.
another planet.
I would, absolutely.
On this planet,
Right.
most stuff does not look human.
Yes.
On this planet. And so, here's one for you. You ready? Now, don't freak out. You see it?
See?
The common ancestor. This is how evolution works. With common ancestor.
Yes.
So we and chimps have a common ancestor.
Yes.
That split later than its common ancestor split with gorillas, which split later than its common ancestor split with old world monkeys that have tails. Okay.
Okay.
It's all primates.
Yes.
But there's a branch that went off that tails, a branch that does not.
Okay.
We're in the branch that does not have tails. It's apes, it's baboons, chimpanzees, gorillas, that thing. Okay, humans. All right, here's my point. For 82 creatures on Earth, you can go far enough back and find the common ancestor.
Okay.
Do you realize the common ancestor between humans and mushrooms split later than its common ancestor split with green plants? Which means we and mushrooms are more genetically alike than either we or mushrooms are to green plants. Damn. You've had like a portobello mushroom. When you bite into it, how do people describe it?
I hate raw pouches. I don't fool with mushrooms.
You don't mess with mushrooms. Well, if you ask people who have, they'll say it tastes meaty. As you bite into it, it has a meaty kind of taste.
Okay.
Said no one ever of kale.
Yes.
Okay. Mushrooms love us.
Yes.
Yeast are mushrooms are fungus.
Yes.
Fungus loves us.
Yes.
Your dandruff is fungus.
Yes.
The yeast infections. Ringworm is fungus.
Yes.
People ingest mushrooms and have conversations with mushrooms. So Give me an alien that looks like a mushroom. I mean, why do they all gotta look human?
So in other words, going back millions and millions of years ago, the common DNA, so you have chimpanzees, monkeys, so forth and so on.
Yes.
We split from them.
Yes.
But we split from a mushroom
Way earlier.
earlier or later?
Oh, much earlier.
Okay.
Much earlier.
Okay.
Because there's a lot that happened in between there.
Okay.
We have to become fish first. Okay. we are our vertebrate, because we have a spine.
Right.
Our vertebrate ancestry goes through the ocean as a fish. So
What's the biggest cause of evolution? Because you say we split from fish, and fish are still able to
Yeah.
breathe water, they can breathe the water,
Yeah.
so forth and so on.
Yeah.
Now we had to have the adaptability to be able to, we learned how to walk upright, we learned how to do all these other things. So how does evolution take place? How does that
that's a
happen?
great question. A lot of people don't fully get this. Okay. In evolution, no organism adapts to anything. What happens is there's a generation of them, okay, that will have slightly different features. Some a little longer, some a little shorter, some a little chubbier, some a little this, some a little that. And then there's an assault on the environment. Usually, everybody dies.
Yes, the dinosaur.
Unless there's a feature among one in this generation that can step through that new portal.
Oh,
So they step through, everybody else dies. They have a property that enables them to thrive in that environment. So now they have offspring with that property in that new environment.
is that what happened with, because they say some micro organisms and some animals can reproduce without having a male partner? Or
Yes, so it's spermatogenesis.
Yeah, is that-
That's an example. I think that's what you're referring
Yes.
to. I think roaches can do this, which helps make them so successful.
Yes.
Right? There's some animals where if they don't have a mate, they can nonetheless generate
Yes.
the zygote.
Yeah.
And then,
Yes.
and so I don't understand that process fully biologically.
Okay.
But we know it happens.
Yeah.
It is definitely a survival
Yes.
property.
Yes.
And so you are more likely to propagate your offspring if you
Yes.
can do that.
Yes.
Because someone else got high and dry, couldn't find a mate.
Right. And it was it, gone. So when you hear what because I've heard this so long, and I don't know if it's true, and you got me questioning myself and whether whoever said it, that the greatest trick to survival is adaptability. And you says no one adapts, you just have
The
to.
feature's already there if you have it at all. Otherwise, everybody dies. Evolution is a giant killing machine. 99% of all species there ever was
Yeah.
are now extinct at the hand of nature. Everyone says, oh, Earth is so beautiful. It's so green. It's so life. Mother Nature, be kind to Mother Nature. Nature is killing you every chance it can get. Okay? And if it's not from some change in the environment,
Right.
it's from a tsunami, an earthquake, a
Right.
volcano, a pestilence, plague,
Yeah.
drought.
Yes.
Mother Nature, don't play.
To control population, war, plague, famine.
Okay. More people
Yes.
on Earth. Do you know the greatest monster responsible for human deaths? We're up there. We're up there. We will kill each other. Mosquitoes.
Yes.
Have killed more people than any other creature on
Yes.
Earth.
Malaria, right?
Among other.
Well, you got Zika, and now you got all
Zika, dengue. Yes.
Yes.
More than anything else on Earth. That is our biggest threat.
Yes.
Not anymore because we pretty much control that.
Right.
But in the day,
Yes.
in the day. So yeah, we're alive in spite of nature, not because of it.
How?
Saying. So back to the alien point. The aliens might be intrigued about evolution on Earth, which is what's responsible for the diversity of life. They might be intrigued by that. I don't know on their planet how different everybody is. Who knows? You know?
How were humans created? So how did we? So you say we branched off and said we had this. We humans, life form as we know it now, branched off from a lot of different things.
Yeah, so the best evidence today suggests that we were happy in the trees like other primates.
Yes.
Then it was climate change,
Yes.
and the forest went away.
Okay.
We came down out of the trees. Now we're in the grasses. But if you're dragging your knuckles in the grasses, you can't see a predator,
Right.
like the lion.
Yes.
So you want to be able to look above what's that creature that was in The Lion King? The meerkat.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
If you're low to the ground, you don't see somebody coming around the bend.
Correct.
Okay? So there was a survival advantage to walking upright instead of on all fours.
Correct.
If you couldn't walk upright for whatever, because your back hurt,
Yes.
then you got eaten.
Right.
You were removed from the gene pool. I walk up and I don't hurt. Okay? I have offspring where they can walk upright and they don't hurt.
Right.
Then there's a mutation to our vocal cords that enabled us to articulate speech.
Right.
Okay, the other apes don't have this.
Right.
It was a mutation that proved to be helpful. So now we can communicate. And now we can remember information. How do we do that? We learn information is stored better if it's rhythmic. In our, that's an interesting fact.
Right.
You remember some words or sentences better than others because there's some rhythm to them.
Correct.
Right? There's something easier. You know, why do we like music at all?
Right.
Because it's a way of communicating in a way that you enjoy. That enables us to share survival knowledge with others.
You said walking with your knuckles dragging the ground, you couldn't see over the horizon, you couldn't see over tall grass, and you couldn't see over and then predators. But then they give you the ability to be able to hear, to be able to smell, because some animals that can't see beyond, they can hear extremely well. They can have an incredible sense of
The smell wasn't in our genes.
It wasn't.
If it was, then we'd be able to smell the lion, you know, the way a dog can.
Yeah.
Okay? Dogs never walk on all fours. So they have a way better capacity to smell than we do. Put them in the grass, they're gonna smell your ass. Okay? So plus we have a relatively good vision.
Yes.
All right, we have a binocular vision, so our depth.
But not like the other animals. We at the bottom of the totem pole.
No, bats don't see with their eyes very well. They can echolocate. Mice have very bad vision. There are plenty of animals that have terrible vision. If you have a mouse in the middle of the floor, it's going to run until it hits a wall, and it's going to run along the wall, feeling the wall wherever it goes. It's going to navigate that way. In the open floor, the mice is pretty helpless. So in the genetic variation that existed for our primate ancestors, the ability to stand upright proved to be good enough for that to be important, more than if you had some variation in your capacity to smell.
So how long ago did we start to stand upright? Was it 1,000 years ago? Was it 500?
Way longer ago. No, I don't remember. I don't have that number.
Okay.
It's a known quantity.
Okay.
I think it's in the millions, but it's a known quantity.
Okay.
Yes.
What is the latest evolution? So let's just say millions and millions ago we evolved and we started. So has there been any other evolution that has happened since then in human?
Yeah. So the way I didn't finish the full evolution statement. So what happens is, if some new feature shows up within you, if it doesn't give you an advantage, then the feature languishes and it doesn't.
So it's like a new feature in a car. So if it doesn't give you more comfort, it doesn't give you greater miles per the gallon,
and it just kind of fades away. Okay.
So then
All right. And you know, little things. For example, we have eyebrows.
Yes.
What the hell are they for?
Yeah. What are they?
Okay.
Sweat. Keep sweating.
Yeah. So if it's hot and you're running away from something and you got to check it out, if sweat just fell into your eyes and sweat is salty, you're like this, you get eaten.
Yeah.
You're gone.
Y'all didn't know I was an astrophysics. I'm just saying. Astrophysics.